The Liberal Democrats are still busy picking their next leader. Layla Moran says that she's ashamed of Britain, and Ed Davey wants to rejoin the European Union. Right, in case you didn't know, the Lib Dems are still taking their time to have their leadership election to find their next leader after Jo Soonson, the so-called future Prime Minister, not only lost the election, she actually lost her own seat. And since then, Ed Davey has been the acting leader. And now we've got the top two candidates, Ed Davey himself and Layla Moran. This morning, they had their first, I don't think it was the first real debate. They've been having all these hustings and debates, but on BBC News, they had their debate. And some voters were asking questions, some Lib Dem members, and they came up with some ridiculous statements. First, on the BLM movement, Layla Moran said that she's ashamed of Britain.
From the very beginning, when we saw the Black Lives Matter movement, the first thing I felt actually was shame. Shame on our society, shame on our party for not being representative enough. And people quite rightly level at us, well, how can you talk about these kinds of inequalities and yet look at you as a party?
Yeah, we could think about the Lib Dem policies and all the stuff that people like Layla Moran or Davey are coming up with, whether it's jobs or housing or anything else. Well, do you really want someone who thinks that this society is primarily bad and has to change? Do you want that person to be leading one of the main political parties in this country? The Liberal Democrats over the last few years have proven to no longer be democratic and pro-democracy, and these days they're not even pro-liberalism. They are the illiberal undemocrats. But Ed Davey also had a chance to answer this question on the BLM movement. He also backed it.
I think your question is absolutely a critical one. It will be one of my top priorities to address both the Black Lives Matter protests and the issues that it raises in our country, but also the failure of our party at all levels to have black candidates elected.
So again, this guy also, his solution is to have more candidates for politics and parliament who are non-white. And he thinks obviously that's the only way to fix it. Well, if that's the case, then obviously I like that approach, because that's, you just have to be representative. But we are already getting there. Whether it's obviously when it comes to different genders and also different skin color, whatever you want to say, Parliament has been evolving and progressing over the past few decades anyway. But again, both of them essentially indicated that this country, the whole society, has a massive problem with race. No, we don't. We are still the most tolerant country, not just in Europe, but in the whole world. And this is supposed to be the Liberal Democrat Party. They're the party that's supposed to be slightly different to the Labour Party. They're not supposed to be as hardcore on cultural issues, but clearly they are. Now, the next thing was that they were asked about their policy on Brexit and the EU. So they can't really have a Remain policy anyway at this point, but they were asked if they would rejoin the European Union.
First of all, did you get Brexit wrong?
No.
No?
We are proudly pro-European and will remain a pro-European party. We've lost the argument at the last general election, that's clear.
Yeah.
Boris Johnson has the majority to force it through. However, we will remain, morally, a very pro-European party. And I will make the case, even when Britain's left the EU, that we should cooperate with our European friends on trade, cooperate with them on climate change.
So he was asked whether they got Brexit wrong, and he comes out with, we are pro-European. I mean, the people who voted against the EU didn't all vote against Europe. You could still be pro-European and against the EU. That's one thing. And the second thing is, he said that we lost the argument. I love how at least they have a different line compared to the Labour Party, where they said, we lost the election, but we won the argument. So at least he admits that they lost the argument. The third thing he says is that, I'm pro-European, I don't like Brexit because I want countries to cooperate and work together and trade and share data and defense. I'm like, that's literally Brexit. The whole point of it, and also a normal developed country in the West. They are still trading with other countries, they're still cooperating on defense and a number of other issues. Why are you lying to people? Being part of the EU, it's got nothing to do with those.
Ian, I believe that we did the right thing by trying to stop Brexit, but it didn't work. The thing we need to focus on now is to stop a no-deal Brexit. We saw just this week that Barnier was saying that negotiations have gone backwards. The implications for a no-deal on jobs, on our economy is massive. We have to start there.
Yeah, again, she's also a proud European. Again, what's that got to do with the EU? I have no idea. So now she says that they were right to try to stop Brexit, and now their new mission is to stop no deal Brexit. How? We've already decided not to extend the transition period, which means December will either have a deal or no deal, and you can't stop that. So it's also all rhetoric. And this is exactly why the Lib Dem base, the voter base, are always very specific type of people who like that sort of rhetoric, with no substance, with no actual policies. It's just nonsense. Now, on the issue of rejoining the EU, this is what Ed Davey said.
And at the moment, a rejoin clearly isn't where the British people are at. We have got to make the case for European cooperation.
Yeah.
And I think if people see us over the next few years cooperating to our mutual benefit, people's views may change.
Okay, so in your heart, you want to rejoin?
Well, I'm a pro-European.
So yeah,
I want to lead a pro-European party. Well, no, listen, we fought Brexit. You don't need to say it. It's really clear.
Yeah, so we can't actually fully say that we would rejoin, but everything that he's been saying, all the issues that he's been talking about for the past few weeks, obviously the Lib Dem policy will be to rejoin. At least Layla Moran actually admitted that she wants to rejoin.
Rejoin?
I would love for this country to rejoin the EU at some point, but I recognise that now is not the time.
See, at least she knows what she wants. Now, I mean, these two have been battling for this role, which is pointless, but at least someone wants to be leader for a few months now, for a couple of months now. And one thing was that Ed Davey obviously ran against Joe Swinson. He lost to Joe Swinson, and he was asked that, well, you couldn't even beat Joe Swinson and she wasn't great. How do you think you could do against Layla Moran?
You couldn't beat Joe Swinson in the Lib Dem leadership contest this time last year. What makes you think you can beat Layla Moran?
Well, first of all, Joe and I had a very friendly campaign, and so was Layla and I, and we worked together as a team. I think, however, the economic situation has changed, the political situation has changed since last year. We have massive challenges.
But why does that mean you can beat Layla Moran this time?
Well, first of all, Layla's not Joe. Let's be fair to her. But more than that,
Layla's not as good as Joe?
No, I'm not saying that at all. And what I am saying, you asked me the question about me, but what I bring to the job.
He literally said Layla is not Joe, and her face just completely changed. And when obviously he was asked, "You mean she's not as good as Joe?" Like, oh no, that's not what I said. Lib Dems know how to pick the strong and stable leaders. Even all the male candidates they've been having for all these years. When was the last time we actually had someone, even Nick Clegg, with all the stuff that he's done for the party, for the Lib Dems at the beginning, he actually kind of helped them come back up. They're all weak and feeble. Now, the next issue was the Lib Dem Identity. What is the point of the Liberal Democrats? This is their answer.
TBH.
On the identity point, it's really critical. One of the issues I've been making a key part of my leadership campaign is we've got to answer that question, what are the Liberal Democrats for? So I've been talking about a greener economy, a fairer society, and a more caring country.
As usual, they always go back to the whole nonsense of fairer society and a caring country. What does that even mean? So, firstly, are they claiming that this country is not fair, just, or caring? And if it's the case that we're not, are they going to force people to change? Like, what does that even mean? That's one issue. Second thing is, from this moment, we're going backwards in terms of the debate, all the issues that they covered. They keep coming up with green crap, because apparently that's the only solution to everything else. One thing was, they were asked, both of them. There was a voter who just asked the question, I was going to show it to you in a minute, about the economy and her job and her livelihood, how she's going to be able to find a new job. And they both came back with green crap.
And I think in this economic recovery, we have to put the green agenda at its heart. That's not just the right thing to do for the planet, that's also the right thing to do for the economy. When they've done studies on this, the Smith School in Oxford, for example, what it does is it creates jobs, it's creating new opportunities for people like yourself.
Yeah, so here's Layla ranting about the green revolution, and this is Ed Davey.
Emily, I'm sorry to hear about your situation. I don't know what your company was, but I do feel that the government's schemes have left out a lot of the sectors and not really given the support, particularly to the self-employed and to small businesses, that is so essential if we're going to keep our economy going and improve it. I've published a plan, I call it my Green Economic Recovery Plan.
Yeah, again, same policy, same nonsense, because, nobody is claiming that we shouldn't care about the environment or having, cleaner air, cleaner water. But their solution to ordinary people and, people struggling right now with everything that's been happening with the economic crisis, the lockdown policies, And they're too busy talking about that. They don't care about ordinary people. And that's why they want to come up with this idiotic and unworkable universal basic income.
Very complicated. I've suggested a universal basic income is a better way of tackling this, a better way.
In fact, you both suggested
people.
that, actually. Emily, you may be interested to hear this. Both candidates have suggested a universal basic income, which means you both want to give everyone in the country a weekly sum. How much would that be?
At first, I've suggested we start slow. Compass, which is a think tank, has thought about this. So somewhere in the order of £80 a week.
Yeah, so that's Layla's policy. But you would think that Ed Davey, is a different candidate. Like with any other party, leadership elections, there are different candidates with different policies. No, they both want the same thing. But at least Ed Davey is slightly different.
And what about you?
I think they'll have to start off a little less, to be honest.
Well, how much?
Well, the modelling I've seen starts at 40 to 60, but the real question is...
Yeah, told you, there's a difference. He wants it. He wants the universal basic income to be slightly lower. Instead of £80 or whatever, it's going to be like about 60-ish, because that matters. You're going to bring down the economy anyway. Just give everybody £1,000 a week. Why not? Oh yeah, and the other flaw in this whole plan is that universal basic income means they're going to give free money to everyone. There's no mean testing or anything, which means they're also going to be paying people like Alan Sugar and Simon Cowell and Piers Morgan and all the billionaires and millionaires. They're also going to receive free money. Makes no sense.
So I just want to check. You'd give your 80 quid a week to Sir Alan Sugar, to J.K. Rowling, to Raheem Sterling, to Andy Murray.
But in reality, they would actually end up paying a lot more of that back.
Yeah, Layla's answer to everything, just like Dawn Butler and Diane Abbott, is to just tax the rich. I don't even know what that means. If by the rich they're talking about the individual millionaires or whatever, or they're talking about businesses and corporations, because with businesses you've got the corporation tax, which also hits small businesses if you change the rate. And if you're talking about the millionaires and the billionaires, I can assure you, even if you raise tax to 95%, you still can't afford this universal basic income project. And then obviously the voter who actually asked the question asked, how on earth are you going to be paying for all this?
I mean, it sounds like a good idea, but whether it's actually feasible or not, because where is the money going to come from? Where is the funds to actually give everyone that money each week?
So yeah, this is a chaotic situation that we have, the Liberal Democrats and the leadership election. I just wanted to obviously show to you guys and expose them for what they actually are. I don't think even they know what they're doing. They're very confused. Their policies are similar, their rhetoric is slightly different, and neither of them actually had any plan for the country and people out there. And again, we only have people like Layla Moran, who's ashamed of our society, and someone like Ed Davey claiming that clearly we're not a caring country. I don't think anybody who's watching this and watched this debate should even consider voting for the Liberal Democrats. But yeah, thanks again for watching. As you guys see, we're in a new studio, we've got a new office, and we're gonna have a new schedule from this week, a new format for the videos that we have, especially for the members of the channel. You guys have been supporting us for such a long time, so we're actually gonna add new perks and benefits. We're gonna have, obviously we're not gonna give you the surprise just yet. We're gonna have things like call-in shows, we're gonna have obviously video calls and everything else. So I mean, all the things you've done for me, I want to give something back to you guys as well. Do you know why? Because we are the media. So stop watching the BBC, subscribe to this channel, and support the channel by becoming a member. I'm ITC. I'll see you guys in the next video.